Boruto TBV Vortex chapter 30 is finally here, family. And boy, when I tell you this chapter did not disappoint. We got our guy Kashi Koji on full demon time. We got Inojin stepping up to the plate majorly. Boruto aura farming as usual is just the typical 10 out of 10 Boruto TBV Vortex chapter. The perfect way to start the new year. But me personally, your boy Slice, I don't necessarily believe the new year is till spring equinox, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to dive into the full leaks and translations of Boruto TBV Vortex chapter 30. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. It is your boy Slice. Welcome to a slice of anime you figured tell me. Consider hitting that subscribe button for your boy. Drop a comment, like the video, and share the video, man. Let's continue to grow the channel. Ain't nothing changed. We are still aiming for that goal of 100 subscribers, you figured tell me. So let's go ahead and dive into this chapter, man. Let's get it. All right. So the chapter begins with actually a little side note text. I don't usually cover these, so why not start covering them? It says, Team 10's effort overwhelmed Mamushi, but when they let their guard down, he multiplies even faster. Now the chapter actually picks up where the chapter left off in chapter 29. Now remember that Inojin was so excited thinking that the fight was going smoothly and everything was a piece of cake as Team 10, Boruto, Kawaki, everyone was just decimating these Mamushi clones, right? But that's not necessarily the case. It's not sweet. It's nowhere near sweet. Mamushi isn't done. Mamushi is actually putting his brain to use, and he has actually intensified the amount of clones that he has created, and he's almost double, if not in fact tripled, the amount of Mamushi clones that are now present, which overall is overwhelming the entire team base. And in fact, it's so overwhelming that Himawari herself, it's almost as if she just instinctively kicked over to her Kurama form and immediately began to fire a Bijudama right in the middle of the village. Almost looks as if she had zero regard for Team 10 being there either. And you could actually see that Shikadai was a tad bit upset about this. I mean, rightfully so. Team 10 did ask Himawari, like, hello, like, you know you're doing this in the middle of the village. And do you not see us standing right here? Which, you know, that was completely crazy. But just like I said, Himawari, after she fires that off, which in the background, we also see Shikadai perform a new form of shadow paralysis jutsu or shadow possession jutsu. He kind of trapped him into like a spear of shadow, a shadow spear. I like that, man. I don't believe I've ever seen Shikamaru do that. So once again, this definitely alludes to, you know, the next generation actually living up to the hype of being the next generation, surpassing Shikamaru, surpassing all of their parents, their predecessors, whatever you want to call it, bro. So after Shikadai was able to group up those Mamushi clones into that shadow possession spear, I guess that's what I'll call it. He didn't necessarily say the name of the jutsu when he used it, but we see them work tremendously as a team. And Shikadai then asks Chocho to take those Mamushi clones that are trapped within the spear, throw them up into the air, and immediately we see Himawari decimate them with a huge Bijudama. And it was beautiful. I mean, even the after effects of it, you know, we just got to take into consideration that if Team 10 wasn't there to think fast enough, Himawari accidentally, but also instinctively, may have destroyed a decent amount of the village alone off of that Bijudama. And let's also not forget the fact that that would have infuriated Jura, which also makes me think, I wonder if that's what happened. What made Jura come down and fight Himawari in that alternate timeline where she did not, in fact, survive that fight. I'm just saying, bro. I think I'm cooking. Now, there is some dialogue between Chocho, Shikadai, and Himawari in regards to that fight being absolutely close. But I wouldn't necessarily say that the fight was close. More so, just the aftermath or the effect of the Bijudama that could have went tremendously left. And Himawari immediately follows up with an apology saying, sorry, I just, and Shikadai immediately says, you just my ass. Take a look at the battlefield. We won't always be here to back you up, just like we were now. You fire without warning us again, we might not be able to make it in time. Just keep that in consideration. Shikadai then notices that the Mamushi clones are exponentially multiplying. They're almost getting out of control in regards to track how many of them are there. We then get a scene shift back over to Kashi Koji and Inojin in the hideout. And we see that Inojin is still communicating via the mind transmission jutsu technique with Shikamaru. Inojin's beginning to panic a little bit. It's not working, Lord Ace. No matter how many we defeat, there's just no end to them. Instead, their numbers are actually increasing. As we see Kashi Koji, he's ore farming per usual as well, but he's just locked in. He has a very serious look on his face, but we can't necessarily tell what he may be thinking or what he's up to. But he's cooking, bro. Trust. So as Shikamaru's thinking of a plan, we get that point of view shift back over to the interrogation room with Lord Kobu and Konohamaru, along with Mitsuki as well. Lord Kobu says to Konohamaru, I told you, I want to interrogate the Hokage. It's his turn. Hurry up, bring him here. Konohamaru shook. He's stuttering a bit because, this is what we were trying to prevent, or at least stall out for the absolute longest time possible. At least until the Mamushi invasion was over. But, being realistic, that wasn't going to happen. And as we're going to see further in the chapter, Lord Kobu is very stubborn. He doesn't care about the Mamushi invasion. And truthfully, it doesn't even seem like he cares about the well-being of the village. He just wants what he wants done. And when he wants it, which is now. I also forgot to mention that Sai was in the interrogation room as well. My apologies. But we actually see Sai say to Lord Kobu that he's received reports of the enemies entering the village. It's Shinju, as well as Boruto sightings as well. Mitsuki, Konohamaru, and Lord Kobu all look at each other with side eyes. All three of them just have menacing glares. Konohamaru really is the only one who looks to be worried, but Mitsuki has a menacing glare as well as Lord Kobu. Sai reiterates to Lord Kobu that even though the security here is quite high in the interrogation room, we can't guarantee your absolute safety. If you remain here, there's a high possibility you may be exposed to danger. And just like I stated before, Lord Kobu, he doesn't care about any of that. At the end of the day, this investigation/interrogation will be completed right now. However, he does actually intend to inquire a bit more information in regards to the detail of the kind of threat that they're expecting. He wants to know their goals. Sai says, we're currently doing an investigation, but if the opponent is a Shinju, the threat level is unknown. With another Mitsuki menacing glare with a bit of aura farm. And Lord Kobu says, is that so? I understand perfectly. He's like Lethal Shooter. He understands it now. He's actually going to resume the investigation as planned, and he states that it's too early to evacuate. And he also reiterates, this concludes the end of our conversation. Hand over the Hokage. Which is crazy, man. He is on Shikamaru's neck so bad that he's willing to let the Mamushi invasion just literally do whatever in the village. He wants his hands on Shikamaru. He knows what he knows, and he's determined to see it out. The scenery shifts right back over to the village as we see Mamushi clones running amok. Inojin's already counted over 100 clones to the point to where he can't even count them all. We actually get a little bit of Delta aura farming as she's just casually just flying over the village with her arms crossed. That's pretty dope. But we see a little bit of Sarada in here as well, asking Delta, can she see anything? She says, yeah, I can see them all right. There's tons of them. And Sarada and Delta are looking very concerned as well. All the confidence from last chapter seemingly has went out the window for all of our characters. So we see Sarada revealing her coordinates. And she was ready for the smoke. She said she was about to now engage into a fight with Mamushi. But Shikamaru had other plans. Not just for Sarada though, but for everyone. as we get another glance at Boruto ore farming. Shikamaru says that he wants to eradicate Mamushi while his numbers were kept few, but it seems like that won't be easy or really even be possible. Right now, he's multiplied too extensively. It's safe to say that the battle has now got to be taken into the next phase. Inojin wants to know what they're going to do, but Shikamaru states, "Don't worry, this is still within my predictions. We're just going to change the plan of the action." On a positive note, there hasn't been any reports of civilian casualties. In fact, the only damage that's been reported is small-scale property damage. So, realistically, as of right now, Mamushi's focus is literally just Ada. As long as we don't attack him first, we should be alright. And literally right after that conversation, we see Shikamaru getting a call from the sensory unit. He's been summoned from Lord Kobu to proceed to the interrogation room immediately. Shikamaru tries to bluff out, says that he's a bit busy, but obviously Lord Kobu's not going for that. I mean, he has been waiting for a long time. It's been at least 3, 4, maybe even 5 chapters he's been trying to get this interrogation with Shikamaru, so you can correct me down in the comments if you in fact know the exact number, but overall you get what I'm saying. He's been waiting for a long time, and his irritation is starting to show. He even states this goes without saying, but I'm here as a substitute for the daimyo of the land of fire. My orders are the direct will of the Lord himself. If you understand, you'll do well not to make me wait any longer. Present yourself at once, Shikamaru. And Shikamaru states, "With all due respect, Kobu, this is an urgent situation. The village is under enemy attack." And once again, I've said it 3 times now, but we're really going to see right now that Kobu could care so much less about the village. He says, "You still don't understand. I'm telling you that this takes top priority. Or do you mean to tell me that you intend to disobey the daimyo's orders? I think doing something like that would be much more detrimental to the village." Inojin's getting worried. He wants to know what's going on with Shikamaru, but we see Kashikoji, a man of business. He's always locked in. And he says the man in question is the second rank to the daimyo, now meaning that, just like we stated earlier, Lord Kobu is second in command to the daimyo, and he wants to interrogate Shikamaru. And we see Inojin look very concerned. Now we get more ore farming from Boruto as he's just surrounded by decapitated Mamushi clone bodies. He attempts to communicate with Shikamaru, letting him know that he cleared out his southern part of the section, and he plans to regroup with the team in the south. But he doesn't hear anything back. Shikamaru says, "Sorry, I can hear you. Once you regroup, just stand by for a little bit and wait for further orders." And Boruto gets a bit concerned. He says, "Is everything okay?" And immediately, as soon as he says that, we see Boruto get captured with some super secret diddy rope. The Leaf Village police have secretly captured Boruto again. They're saying that they've restrained the traitor Boruto, and they also, in fact, have confirmed that Mamushi is a Shinju. Now, the Leaf Village police, he's feeling himself entirely way too much. He really thought he was cooking right here, confiscating Boruto's weapon. Now, if you don't remember a couple chapters ago, remember when Sumire made those adjustments to Boruto/Sasuke's sword? Well, now, remember, whenever anyone touches it that's not Sasuke, Sumire, or Boruto, their chakra will be immediately drained. And as soon as he picked up Boruto's sword, he dropped the sword, and Boruto was able to use Flying Raijin technique to get out of there and ore farm once again. Boruto tells the Leaf Village police officer, "I'm saying this for your own good. If you see a Shinju, run. It'd be a waste if you died." As he Flying Raijin techniques up out of there, they're all upset. But once again, we get a look back at the village. And bro, these Mamushi clones are ridiculous. They have literally taken over the entire village. Now, keep in mind, they're not causing anyone harm, but it's just simply the fact of the amount of clones that are present is ridiculous. In fact, they're almost all in unison. Sarada even states that they're not walking around just randomly anymore when Shikamaru inquires about what's going on. What are things looking like? So Shikamaru tells him to keep looking. Just report back in if you see any progress. Shikamaru also tells Inojin that he's going to the interrogation room and he has to deal with Lord Kobu. But in other words, he won't be able to look at the transmission map for a while. So this kinda renders Inojin's new jutsu useless. But remember I told you earlier in the video, Inojin gets a big opportunity and another upgrade arguably. Inojin says back to Shikamaru, if that's the case, if you're being interrogated, you won't be able to carry out the plan. Shikamaru relays to him, I know. You can tell me their location information verbally. Or you can take command. As we see Inojin, he's just in shock. He said that's not possible. But it is. All the Inojin haters, man, the only thing at this point from this chapter on, we can only hate on his haircut. Because Inojin is solid. Shikamaru's still trying to cook up an escape plan. He said just now, a couple Mamushi clones started swarming around the Hokage's office. Once I can get Lord Kobu to understand the situation, he'll be forced to reconsider. I don't think he'll back down easily, but as we see someone call Shikamaru, it's Kashi Koji's toad, telling him to hide the toad in the pocket. Shikamaru asks Koji, so, I'm assuming you have a plan? Koji says, something like that. And at this point, I'm convinced that Boruto has got to ore farm in every single panel he gets, whether it's by himself, with other people. No one in Boruto TBV Vortex can have more ore than Boruto. It's just that simple. No glazing, no Diddy. Boruto is just too hard. Alright, my apologies. Let's lock back in. Kashi Koji tells Inojin to stop the transmission for a bit. Inojin says, but if I do that, the transmission between all of us will disappear. Koji says that it can't be helped. We first got to overcome this obstacle. You're now going to learn a different jutsu. And once again, I am no longer bluffing. I promise you that video on Kashi Koji is coming soon. Because it's just inevitable. I have to put it out before it happens. I'm not saying anything else. Just hit that subscribe button and hopefully you are looking forward to seeing that Kashi Koji video. Shikamaru opens the door and Lord Kobu's fiending ass turns around faster than me when I hear a stray cat meowing outside. Kobu states, so you finally arrived. I grew tired of waiting, Mr. Shikamaru. Shikamaru states and stands on business. As I mentioned earlier, we have an emergency on our hands. Hurry up and get this over with. I want to go back to work. There's a small text box as well that says Shikamaru drops a polite speech and starts speaking down to him. But Lord Kobu's also standing on business. He says, yo, that all depends on you. After all, you may very well lose your job, depending on the circumstances, Lord Hokage. Kobu lets him know he's just revealing his full hand at this point, which, guys, you should never do that. But at this point, he's fed up. You know, he has him where he wants him, but even still, just a life lesson from your boy Slice, you figure dummy. You should never reveal your full hand. Back to what Kobu's saying though. To be truthful, I've been suspicious of you from the very start. I have reason to believe that you were the one who let Boruto go. Shikamaru just says that that's nonsense. What's your basis for that? Kobu says, how utterly transparent of you. My hunches are rarely wrong. Either way, I'll soon gather enough evidence. So why don't we do this, Mr. Shikamaru? Honestly admit your crimes and I just might make you a lighter sentence. And please, don't take too long to think about it. We should put an end to this sooner rather than later. All in accordance with your wishes. See how you turned that back on him, bro? Kobu ain't shit, bro. Remember that toad that Shikamaru put in his jacket? We see it peeking out as Kashi Koji tells Inojin to do it now. And we see the plan. Kashi Koji cooked up another brilliant plan, and now Inojin is still the star of this chapter just as he was last chapter. Inojin uses the mind-body transfer jutsu onto the toad. But that's not just it. The toad then jumps out, and Inojin does it again, which now Inojin is now in Lord Kobu's body. As Sai's freaking out trying to figure out what's happening, he asks him, Lord Kobu, are you alright? Now at this moment, I don't even think that Inojin was too aware of what he just did, which is why he completely blew his cover, at least with Sai. But at this moment as well, Shikamaru is also aware of what's going on right now. But my importance, what I want to specify and clarify and really focus on is the fact that now Sai is completely looped in to what's going on here. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but there's potential for Sai to now be on Team Boruto. Maybe within the few upcoming chapters, let's say about 2 or 3 chapters, give or take, Sai should now be on Team Boruto. But going back to the story, where did exactly Inojin go wrong? He called Sai Papa, or Dad, Tosa, whatever. That's where he messed up, man, because he's in Lord Kobu's body doing this. As we see, Shikamaru is completely shocked, just as well as Sai. And he says it again. He says, Dad, part of my head feels a bit dry. Well, my hair, that is. That's when Shikamaru is able to put 2 and 2 together. This is the mind transfer jutsu. Inojin took over Kobu's consciousness. Kashikoji's toad leaves Shikamaru's pocket and actually now goes up to Kobu's body, which keep in mind that Inojin is in. The toad tells him to step outside. So, I guess at this point Inojin calls himself playing it off. He says, I'm kind of tired of questioning you now. Let's take a break. I need some fresh air. Shikamaru just has the meanest, just WTF look on his face and not in a good way. So it's not a shock, it's more like an irritation or a serious look. We see Sai about to follow him out there. And Inojin inside of Lord Kobu's body says, I don't need any guards. It'll be too stuffy. A waste of a much needed break. Let me just get some fresh air. Sai says, but Lord Kobu. Inojin says, stand by here. This is an order. I'll be right back. When we see Inojin talking to the toad, he says, that was scary. But what exactly do you want me to do anyway after this? Koji / the toad tells him to go up on the roof. And once they're finally up there, Inojin says, I don't really know what you're planning. But isn't this dangerous? Mamushi could come up here. What will we do if something happens to Lord Kobu? Koji just has a serious look on his face. And if you know anything about Koji, you know he's 1,000% down with the business. He doesn't care who has to go. He doesn't care what line has to be crossed. He's all about the success of the mission. And that's when it clicks for Inojin as well, because Kashikoji didn't say a word. And when he finally did, he uttered these 3 words that solidified that this already is a beautiful and amazing start for 2026's Boruto TBV Vortex run. And Kobu's life. So it's right here it is revealed that Kashikoji's plan to keep Shikamaru safe, to keep everything in accordance how it is now, at least, as much as it possibly can be, we have to eliminate Lord Kobu. And Inojin has to be the one to do it. Now we actually slide back over to Sai and Shikamaru. Sai admits he was surprised, but he confirmed it when he looked into Lord Kobu's eyes, that was in fact Inojin's mind transfer jutsu. And then he asked Shikamaru to tell him what's truly going on. But then we immediately go back to the dialogue between Inojin and Koji. Jump off the building if you have to, says Koji. You can show him in a panic as Mamushi attacks, as long as you get rid of him. Inojin obviously never have taken a life. He's freaking out and he's panicking. He's going through a myriad of emotions right now. And he says, hold up. This is a joke, right? Koji says, listen, there's no time for questioning the morality of the situation. Think about it logically or rationally. It can't be helped. Kobu is a full-on enemy. And just like I alluded to earlier, Kashikoji is all about the mission, eliminating those who need to be eliminated, not scared to drop off anyone who will be a hindrance to the completion or success rate of the mission, no matter what. Which is why him and Boruto bump heads, but at the end of the day, Koji's really moving the right way. Or is Boruto moving the right way? Or is Boruto moving the right way? Should these guys in fact be trying to save everyone and not eliminate anyone unnecessarily for the sake of the mission except those who need to be defeated, aka the Shinju? What do you think down below in the comments? Let me know, man. Koji lets Inojin know though that he's not transmitting anything right now. The only ones who will know about Inojin getting rid of Kobu's body is just Kashikoji and Inojin themselves. And Inojin states that this is insane, questioning of whether or not Koji has gone mad. But Koji understands the severity of the mission. He understands the severity. He has seen the future outcomes that will or may possibly come if the mission does not go how prescience showed him that it must go. And keep in mind that prescience can get changed at any given second, but they have to try to keep things vague. And he also must try to keep as much going the way that he foresaw in his foresight. Speaking of seeing, Lord Kobu / Inojin is now saw by a Mamushi clone. And Mamushi asks him, "You know where I can find a woman named Ada?" Now you'll have to forgive me because this last page that we're left on is a bit confusing and I don't know exactly what happened here, so I'll give you my theory on what happened here. Koji's toad opened back up, and when he opened back up, we saw something fire inside of Mamushi's ear, and we see him freaking out, and he's asking, "Do you want to die? What are you doing?" With the toad stating, "Good, this'll do." And the outro text to the chapter says, "One cannot be choosy when fulfilling goals." Well, Inojin racked on rationality or morality. And that, in fact, concludes the chapter 30 of Boruto TBV Vortex. And that also highlights the war between rationality, which is Kashikoji, and morality, which represents Boruto. Now let me know which side you feel as though is necessary in regards to things in general. War, defending your loved ones, defending your village, whatever you gotta do. Is it better to let one person go to save the lives of 100 or vice versa? Let me know what you think down in the comments, man, because that's always been an ongoing battle. And you know, it's just one of those battles that could truly go either way. So I'm curious to see some engagement in the comments and just pick your guys' brain a little bit. But overall, man, like I said, I can't stress enough. This chapter was a 10 out of 10, baby. So that's where we're at. Inojin is in Lord Kobu's body. But then, I don't know, I'm thinking that Inojin is now in Mamushi's body. I'm lost myself. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you've made it to the end of the video, I appreciate you, man. Drop a number 3 and let me know your favorite Boruto TBV Vortex character or Boruto character in general. That will leave you eligible for the $100 giveaway when we reach 100 subscribers. You figured that? I appreciate you for making it to the end of the video, man. Just let me know what you thought about the chapter down below. Anyway, though, man, it's been your boy Slice and I'm signing out. 10 out of 10 chapter, baby. Peace.